Okay, con. All praise to the Most High. Shalom, 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 Israel. Welcome to another episode of Faith by Works, where we study a commandment week in and week out to perfect our walk with the Most High God in deed and in truth. Right? This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shah, giving thanks to the Father by him. All right, so, hey, with all things, all right, we do what we say. All right, we put our hand to do, and when we prophesy, right, when we use our tongue in any way, shape, or form, we want to make sure that it's to edify and to perfect ourselves, right, for the nation, all right, standing on nation business, so on and so forth, right, to glorify the Lord by way of his son. That's why in the Paleo Hebrew, we say, call halal Yahweh by Hashem wa Malak Yahweh Shah, giving all honor and glory, all right, to the Most High God by way of his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is the book of James, chapter 2, and verse 14. What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? So can simply saying I have faith, I believe in God, I fear God, is this sufficient enough? Right? It says what? In verse 17, it says, even so faith, if it have not works, is dead being alone. Ye, a man say, thou hast faith and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. So we show forth that fear, right? That reverence, right? That faith and that love for the Most High God, improving our relationship for the Most High God, right? By our works. All right. We are seen as, a friend of Christ, a disciple of Christ by way of our works, the fruit of our doings. Okay. This is the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 18. It says, my little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. All right. And that's very plain. All right. And that's the whole goal here. All right. We strive to, perfect our walks and making sure that we are proving our love for the Most High God and doing what he says to do. All right. So that we may be perfected and prepared for the marriage of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. All right. So the title of today's lesson, all right, is correction is good. Correction is necessary. Okay. When we're talking about despising correction and how it's wrong. Okay. We have to change our viewpoint and our relationship with correction. That's very, very important if we want to be better for the Most High God. Right. Because when we look at the animals that we gave dominion, that we were given dominion over, right. When we look at, the birds, when we look at, the canines, when we look at, snakes and all the different reptiles, the amphibians like frogs, right? All of them have some type of form of shedding, if you notice. Birds shed feathers, dogs shed fur, right? Hey, even ourselves, when we comb our hair, there's some shedding going, right? And this is what? A process of becoming new. If we notice and you look at it, it's a process of becoming better, right? So how much more so do we have this understanding when it comes to our spiritual bodies? Okay, we have to be perfected, all right, in order to be worthy of the Most High God's kingdom. So correction, right, is the form of that, all right? When we are corrected, all right, that's the form of becoming better. So we have to look at it as good. We have to look at it as it being necessary, all right? So the opening precept or the premise of today's class will be Proverbs 3 and verse 11. It says, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighted. All right, so right here it's saying, don't be mad, don't hate, don't despise, all right, the chastening of the Lord. What is chastening? Chastening is the correction, the rebuke, all right, the afflictions, the tribulations that he puts you through to get you to understand the situation at hand, to get you to understand how you're supposed to be better and how you need to stop doing whatever it is you're doing. All right. And what else does it explain? It says, what? Don't be weary of his correction. All right. Being weary of his correction is like just giving in to the flesh, giving up. All right. Being tired of it and just saying, the hell with it. You know what I mean? I'm going to just focus on me and do what feels good because I'm just sick and tired of going through things in life. All right. So don't be weary. Don't give up. All right. Don't give in to your flesh, but rather not despise it. It says, for whom, continuing on in there, it says, for whom the Lord loveth, he corrected. So you have to understand that when he's correcting you, all right, that's his way of love. That's tough love, as we understand it. All right. We have parents, we have mothers, we have fathers, right? And without a doubt, we'll say, I love my mom, I love my dad. And without a doubt, they'll say it back, right? But it isn't always just about hugs, kisses. I love you, mama. See you later. I love you, mama. How you doing? You know, hey, baby, how you doing? You want something to eat? It's not always very pretty, is it? Sometimes you got to get your ass whooped because you done said something wrong. You done did something wrong. You got bad grades, so on and so forth, right? So sometimes tough love is necessary, and tough love is also good from the Most High God, just like how it was with mama and daddy, right? Even as a father, the son in whom he delight. You understand? So we see the comparison there with parenting, and we have to see the Most High God as our Father. But you got the King. I yield there.
Mighty points, King. Mighty introduction. I'm gonna go ahead and say Salakia first and foremost. They are cutting the grass right now, so if it gets a little loud, that's what's going on, right? But yeah, pretty straightforward topic here today, right? This we have to be willing and able to accept correction, right? At the end of the day, this is all out of love. It's not out of hate or any type of malice that you will have a brother or sister bring correction or reproof your way, right? At the end of the day, it's all of the Most High God, right? We bring out precepts like Proverbs 20 and 24 all the time, with Jeremiah 10 and 23 all the time, right? Man's goings are of the Lord. So when you have a brother or a sister coming to reprove you, right, out of sincere, genuine care, right, we always have to keep in the back of our mind that the Lord is doing that, right? Real quick, just to kind of let me back off the point that the brother was bringing out, to show that it's out of love. This book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, and verse number 5. It says, Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so the Lord thy God chasteneth thee, right? I have a son. He had to get chastised this morning. He wanted to go potty on the floor when he knows bad. And you know how he knows bad? Because when I went to look at him, he pointed at it and said bad, right? With that being said, he had to get some type of chastisement and correction, right? He's 2 years old, but he learned how to mop a floor for the first time today, right? Chastisement and correction is not something that comes with malice, right? Chastisement and correction is something that comes out of love, right? Another precept that we bring out all the time. Book of Leviticus, chapter 19, and verse 17, right? It says, Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him, right? We understand that as a people, we undergo curses. We're undergoing curses, right? We are bound by curses. We are under the thumb of our enemies, all because we disobeyed the commandments, all because we turned away from the ways of the Most High God. Well, then when you have a brother or a sister that's trying to walk uprightly, coming to correct you to walk uprightly, you have to understand what it is that they're doing. They are showing you a very pure, one of the purest forms of love that they can show you. They are trying to get you out of this lower state, out of these curses that we are all in, right? And we always have to remember that. We can't puff ourselves up and say, oh no, you wrong, you this, you that. At the end of the day, we're not talking to niggas no more. Brother Gabar says that all the time. And we can't look at each other as that, not in this truth, not in this walk, right? We can't understand that man's goings are of the Lord, but the very moment that a brother tells you, hey, you going off when you doing this, right? We start treating him as if he didn't come straight from the Lord to tell us this. These are things that are going to get us put away, because at the end of the day, yeah, we're coming to wake up our people as a whole, but 2/3 of us got to go, right? It's book of Proverbs. Child. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 15. Let's see, hold on. Salaki. And verse number 10, right? Correction. Well, Salakia. I'm gonna start at verse 9. This book of Proverbs, chapter 15 and verse 9. It says, "The way of the wicked is an abomination unto the Most High, but he loveth him that followeth after righteousness," right? And that's all of our goal at this moment, to follow after righteousness, because we want to get out of this place, right? So with that being said, we understand that we're not going to get it. Hell, we just found out that we were the people a decade ago, right? So of course it comes with the understanding that we're not going to get everything right. So we should be looking for what? Verse 10, correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way, right? And he that hateth reproof shall die, right? We understand that we're just coming back into this thing. We're going to get things wrong. That's why Yahweh Shai had to come in the first place. Then we understand that we're going to have correction happen to us in some form or fashion all along the way until we get to this kingdom. We have to have that understanding, right? And if we hate that correction, what does that mean? Ultimately, it means we don't want that kingdom, right? Like I say, straightforward topic today, right? Let's see. Oh, one more. We'll get one more. Book of Proverbs, chapter 23. In verse number 13, it says, "Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die." Right? Thou shalt beat him with the rod and shalt deliver his soul from hell. Right? At the end of the day, when somebody's giving you that rod of correction, and understand we're all adults, ain't nobody really literally coming at you trying to whoop you, right? But understand, if somebody's coming at you correcting you and they're doing it, that they're first and foremost are doing it out of love because they don't want to see you perish. So before you get puffed up, before you get prideful, before you feel the need to want to push back at this person, first and foremost, sit back and think about, hey, why did the Most High God have this person tell me this? Is there something that is in me that needed to hear this so that I can correct? Right? At the end of the day, self-examination. It honestly ties into the lessons from the last couple of weeks. Self-examination is something that's necessary, right? In order to take correction properly, right? In order to take correction without having that murmuring or that backbiting spirit. You have to be able to examine yourself. You have to be able to humble down and say, what can I learn from this? Right? And be sincere about it. Some people will tell themselves that and they be like, nothing, and move on with their day, right? People don't actually take the time to sit and look at, is the Lord pleased with this that I'm doing? Is the Lord pleased with that I'm doing? Is the Lord pleased with the way I've been thinking about things? Is the Lord pleased with the way I've been moving? Maybe all of these things are the reason why I had to get chastised and or corrected just now. It's all about coming out of yourself, right? And killing that pride, humbling down, right? And receiving correction that thou may live. Because the person giving it to you, right? He's only giving it to you for that purpose, that you may live, right? And with that, are you?
King, mighty points. Another thing we have to understand is that when we come into this truth that we're born again, we are his children. All right. From there, I'm gonna go to Matthew chapter 18 and verse 1. It says, "At the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Yahushua called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven." All right. So one came unto Yahushua and asked him, all right, one of his disciples said, who will be considered the greatest in the kingdom? Now, I'm not really, to my understanding, I'm not seeing that as, who's going to be the best in the kingdom, like who going to have the top rank. No, I see that as who will be respected in the kingdom, who is going to be in that kingdom and well into that kingdom and seen as one that deserves the kingdom, all right, of the majority. And it's and Yahweh Shai is telling him, in order to get there and to order to be seen and respected into this kingdom, hey, you have to become as a little child. All right, he set that child right next to him so that everybody could get to really see what he was talking about. How that child is not looking, that child is not looking into vanity. He's not looking to be, the smartest person in the room, had the best breakdowns, you know what I'm saying, to understand the deep parables and having this big reputation, so on and so forth. No, this child right here just wants to follow. Humbleness is the key, right? And when we come into this truth and why this is important and how this ties into correction and how that is good, is that a lot of times when we receive correction, we still are that same person that's in the world. We think when we came into this truth that life resumed. No, life started over. You became a new creature. You became reborn. All right, you're now new. You're now a little child. You understand? You are now a clean slate. Everything that you once knew has to be questioned now and has to be ran through a filter of the Most High God and his statutes and judgments. The things that you once knew, you now have to question that and examine that with a different lens, and now that you have an understanding now. You see what I'm saying? You came into this truth at 31, 25, 40, so on and so forth. You're now one. All of those things that you obtained in this world, as far as wisdom goes, you now have to look at that and see, is this okay with the Lord? All right, is this right? Is my understanding on this correct? You understand? Now, you have life experiences, a person that came into this thing, they have life experiences, which means they have life wisdom. You understand? But I'm talking about as far as, 1 Corinthians 3:19. If you got a college degree, you were taught certain things, you were taught certain doctrines, so on and so forth, Christianity, the Nation of Islam, so on and so forth. You have to completely delete those things out of your mind and now look at the scriptures, all right, and consider yourself new, all right. From there, let's go to Sirach chapter 20 and verse 1, all right, because we have to look at correction as it's like working out. It's like exercising. Okay, nobody goes to 24-hour fitness, the Big E. Nobody goes to LA Fitness and Fitness Connection expecting to go in there and not be placed in a position of discomfort. No, you're going in there to break your muscles down. You're going in there to challenge your cardiovascular. You're going in there to do some stretching, all right, to stretch your muscles out. Stretching, running until you're dog tired and can't breathe, lifting weights until your muscles are burnt and your arms feel like noodles. All of those different experiences physically is uncomfortable. And you can't despise those things if you want to improve, your mile time, if you want to improve flexibility, if you want to improve in strength. You understand? If you want to be found greatest, all right, in the gym, if you want to be respected in the gym and grow in the gym, all right, you have to go through the correction of your muscles, your flexibility, your cardiovascular, all right, your wind. You understand? So we have to look at it as working out, right? Sirach chapter 20 from the top, it says, there is a reproof that is not comely. Again, some man holdeth his tongue and he is wise. All right, so instead of despising reproof, you hold your tongue, you listen to what's being brought out. Like if a brother is correcting you or a sister has come to you and bringing something to your attention, you take that and you have to understand in that moment, there's something that I may not see. And like the brother Kasadia was saying, this is not a nigga that's in front of me. This ain't no nigga off the street. This ain't no cat that is, ignorant to the scriptures. No, this is a brother that studies just like me. This is a brother who goes through the things that I go through. He goes through the curses. This is a brother who loves me. This is a brother who puts in alms, all right, so that I can eat. This is a brother that looks out for me. So I can't just look at this as something bad. I have to remember that this is a man of the Lord. This is a vessel of the Most High God. And the Most High God may have sent this brother or this sister to me to bring out something and to show me something that I don't see. I could potentially be blinded to something. So let me be quiet, hold my peace, hold my tongue, and be wise, and understand that reproof is not supposed to feel good. All right. A body transformation includes discomfort. That's what we have to understand. All right. In the exercising world, all right, if you will, you know what I'm saying, and fitness, all right, you can't eat what you used to eat if you want to lose weight. All right. You have to carefully examine the things you put into your body. You have to carefully, examine all of the disciplines and the conformities that you have to adapt to in order to live a healthy lifestyle. All right. So we have to understand those things when aiming towards the kingdom, just like when we was aiming towards a body transformation. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 48 and verse 9 in the NLT. We're going to read down to 11. It says, "Yet for my own sake and for the honor of my name, I will hold back my anger and not wipe you out." This is the Most High, all right, explaining, hey, look, I'm going to apply some pressure on you, but I'm not going to wipe you out for the sake of my name, so that Israel will always be in remembrance. All right. It's saying what? I have refined you, but not as silver is refined. Rather, I have refined you in the furnace of suffering. So suffering, the things that we go through, we have to look at it as the refining from the Most High God. Okay. This is disciplinary action from the Most High. All right. When you catch a flat tire on the way to camp, when your motor is blown out, all right, when you lose your job, all right, when you are diagnosed with the disease, when you go through the process of losing friends, so on and so forth. This is all refining you for the better, putting you in a better position in life. Reading on, it says what? Because we see it as suffering, right? Jake love to say, God, damn, I'm going through all of this stuff, man. Like, I just can't catch a break. Don't look at it like that. You have to look at it as the Lord is trying to show you something, or the Lord is trying to prepare you for something better. It says what? I will rescue you for my sake. Yes, for my own sake. I will not let my reputation be tarnished, and I will not share my glory with idols. So this reminds me a lot of the parenting that I was brought up under, right? A lot of times my mom and my dad, they used to always say, you need to always represent the Santiago name, right? And for those who don't know, that's my last name, right? So my dad used to always say, you're a representation of me, all right? And you're not going to mess up, you know what I'm saying, the Santiago name. I always move with integrity and I always act like I'm watching you, right? So what I understand here is that, the Lord is our parent, all right? And we can't tarnish his reputation in the name of Israel by having idols in our heart. So if we want to make it to the kingdom and we want to get that great reward, we have to put away the idols. In order to put away those idols, the Lord has to show us these things. He has to show us what the idols are in our heart, right? Brother Aharon brought this out last week as well, that we need to be praying that the Most High God shows us our sins. Well, is the Most High God going to just come in this physical form and show us? Who knows the face of the Most High God? Who has ever seen him and what he looks like really looks like? So he's going to use our brothers and sisters around us to show us our sins, which means it's going to come in the form of correction, the form of communication. That's what we have to understand, right? But I'm going to go ahead and yield there, King. You got it.
Hey, that's the spirit. I'm going to let me back right off that point, right? Like I said, like the brother said, who has seen the face of the Most High God? Right? None of us. So we have to understand that when he sends correction, it's going to look a myriad of different ways, right? Like the brother used the analogy of going to the gym, right? It's not going to be comfortable all the time, right? The Most High says he sees men that, well, that's a different context. But in the scriptures, it say, I see men as trees walking, right? The Most High likens us to trees. Well, Jeremiah 17, he likens us to a tree, right? Well, whenever you're driving through one of them new neighborhoods, right? And they have those 5 foot, 6 foot tall trees that are just growing, them little saplings, right? What do they typically have around them, right? They probably have a pole on each side with some twine that's tied to the tree and tied to the poles. What is that meant to do? It's meant to correct the tree and make the tree grow upright. Just like if you break a arm or a leg, right? And you go to the doctor or the hospital, they're going to give you a cast. It's going to make sure that that thing stays immobile so that it can heal correctly, right? Correction looks different in a myriad of different type of ways. So let's get a couple of counts, right? on some different ways that in the scriptures that we see either chastisement or correction, right? This is the book of 2 Samuel. Getting a count on David, right? Hold on. 2 Samuel chapter 16, we're going to start at verse 5, right? Now, this is after David did whatever he did with Bathsheba and Uriah, the Hittite, right? This is what I think Absalom had already taken over David's place, and David is put to flight, him and his hosts, right? So this book of 2 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 5, it says, and when King David came to Bahurim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Jerah. He came forth and cursed still as he came. And he cast stones at David and at all the servants of King David. And all the people and all the mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. And thus says Shimei, when he cursed, come out, thou bloody man, thou man of Belial. Right? Now, first and foremost, anybody, right? I don't care. David is a king, literally, first and foremost. He's a king, literally walking with his own hosts, his own armies, right? But any of us who are way less than that, of any random person comes at us and starts throwing rocks at us and insults at us, we're going to be ready to get at these people, right? I mean, that's, I won't say human nature, but it's kind of on GP, right? If I walk outside right now and somebody start throwing rocks at me and insulting me, hey, I'm going to throw a rock back, right? Let's see how David handles it, right? It says, the Lord hath returned upon thee all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose stead thou hast reigned. And the Lord hath delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom thy son. And behold, thou art taken in thy mischief, because thou art a bloody man, right? So here's the reproof, right? Here's the chastisement, here's the correction, right? Not just stones and the insults, but there was actually some meat, some substance to it, right? Verse 9. Then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, unto the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, I pray thee, and take off his head. Now, one thing that we got to make sure we stop doing, Israel, right? And this is something that we have a terrible, terrible, terrible problem with, right? When somebody comes to correct us out of love, we go find our inner circle, our yes men, our yes people, our girlfriends, our homeboys, whatever, and we get them to tell us what we want to hear to make us feel right. That's not so. That's not how you receive correction. You're not going to get corrected that way, right? These people in the world that you keep going to kind of plead your case to because you know they're going to take your side, right? These people are not leading you towards the righteousness of the Most High God. The person that's telling you, hey, you're doing wrong according to the word of the Most High God, that's the one that's trying to lead you in the right way. So we have to stop going back to our yes men, our yes women. We have to stop that because those people are only there to be a stumbling block and a snare to us, right? taking their counsel is only going to lead us to being, and I can get an account on that, but for the sake of time, I won't. I would just say, let me see real quick, just so I can give a reading suggestion. I would say read the book of First Kings chapter 12, right? And you get a good account on that. Or Second Chronicles chapter 10, you get a good account on that, right? But nonetheless, we have to stop going back to our yes men, right? And David is literally walking with his yes man as we speak, right? Abishai is like, hey, I'm about to go take off his head because he's throwing rocks and insulting you, right? David is literally walking with his yes man, but let's see how he handles it, right? Verse 10, and the king said, what have I to do with you, ye sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord has said unto him, curse David. Who shall then say, wherefore hast thou done so? Right? So David already peeping what it is, right? Again, we all keep that precept in mind. Man's coins are of the Lord. How can a man that understand his own way? Right? But then when some correction or some reproof come your way, you want to act like, oh, no, you wicked. Stay away from me. I'm going to go run to my yes man. David saw through it, right? He's like, you know what? The Lord sent him to tell me what he's telling me, right? I have to deal with it. Verse 11, right? And David said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold, my son, which came forth out of my bowels, seeketh my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do it? Let him alone and let him curse, for the Lord had bidden him, right? That's David taking the wisest approach to correction and reproof, right? And he was absolutely right. He's like, man, all he doing is throwing rocks and insults. I got a whole son that just took my kingdom from me because of something I did, right? And he's not done yet. He's going to do a whole bunch of more foul things to me because of what I did. Let this man throw his rocks, right? I need to hear this, right? Verse 12. It says, it may be that the Lord will look on mine affliction and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day, right? So just like a parent, the brother brought out that parents, if you have to chastise your child, right? You're very pleased as a parent when you see that they understand why they're getting the chastisement. If they're bucking back at you, right? If they're saying, no, this is wrong, child abuse, I'm gonna call CPS, then you automatically know that they don't understand that you're correcting them for their benefit. David understood that the Lord was correcting him for his benefit. And he understood maybe the Lord will take it a little easy on me because he sees that I understand what's happening right now, right? We have to look at these accounts. And I can end that one right there. We have to look at these accounts and really learn from them, right? I get one more and I'm gonna pass it. It's the book of Numbers. Like I said, correction, chastisement could come in a myriad of different ways. It's the book of Numbers, chapter 22. I'm gonna start at verse 22, right? And the Most High's anger was kindled because he went, right? Now we're talking about Balaam, right? All the way in the book of Numbers. The Lord told him not to go somewhere, and Balaam, he kind of reasoned an excuse for himself that he should go. So he ended up going anyway, even though the Lord didn't want him to. Just to catch you up, verse 22, and the Lord's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him, right? So Balaam is going to a place that the Lord told him not to go. He riding on his donkey, and he got two servants with him, right? And there's literally the Lord sent an angel to be against him, right? Let's see what happens. Verse 23. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way, right? So Balaam was literally sitting there riding on his donkey, And in his perception, the donkey just out of nowhere went off the road. So he's mad. He spanked the donkey, right? Not knowing that, well, let's keep reading, right? But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. So now this donkey, right, in the perception of Balaam, now this donkey is just acting up. This donkey just crashed itself into a wall and my foot got crushed, right? Balaam kind of spanks the donkey again, right? And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with the staff, right? So now there's no way for the donkey just to kind of go off course. So the donkey just kind of sits down, right? Balaam, his perception is like, what the hell is going on with this donkey? So it kind of smites him again. Let's see what's going on. Verse 28. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, what have I done unto thee that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? Right? And Balaam said unto the ass, because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hand, for now would I kill thee. Right? Balaam is so enraged and in his own pride that he's not even stopping to think about the fact that his donkey just started talking to him. That's how much pride is on it. That's how much pride it takes for you to just reject correction like that. Your donkey started talking to you, and you understood it and started talking back and didn't think anything of it. But let's keep reading, right? Verse 30. And the ass said unto Balaam, am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Right? The brothers and sisters that come to correct us out of love, right? Are these not our brothers and sisters that we labor with day in and day out, that we pray for, pray with, that pray for us day in and day out, that we throw up fast with week in and week out, or however often, right? That we go out in the highways and hedges with week in and week out, right? Are these not our family? Why are we acting like this toward them just because they're trying to help us? And the help may not necessarily look good to us. Why do we act like this against them? Right? Verse 30, it says, and the ass said unto Balaam, am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever want to do so unto thee? And he said, nay. Balaam had to admit, hey, yeah, you ain't never been bad to me, donkey. Right? It's crazy that he still not acknowledging that the donkey talking to him. Verse 31. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword was drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. Right? So now he's seeing, oh snap, there's a whole angel right there ready to kill me. Verse 32. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me and turned from me these 3 times, unless she had turned from me. Surely now also I have slain thee and saved her alive. Right? So now the angel basically telling you straight up, hey, I was here to kill you. And you have this ass that loves you so much that she did what she had to do to save your life. And you sat there and beat her for it, right? You sat there and hated that correction, right? You were going down literally the wrong path, and she tried to keep you from out that path, because on that path, the Lord was ready to kill you on it. Because I was going to kill you and save this donkey alive. The donkey could have minded his own business, her own business, and been good. But out of love for you, the donkey did these things. We have to look at these things, man. At the end of the day, our people, they're not going to waste time trying to make us better if they didn't see better for us. And honestly, yeah. And with that, I yield, man, for sure.
Con, King, Con. Hey, that made me think of this one precept, right? The complete opposite, right? of that hard head in that account, right? So I'm gonna go to Psalm of David, right? The prayer of the preservation of evil, right? A lot of times, the way that we are preserved from evil and bad things happening to us is the Most High God will put us through, that type of situation. You understand? Like we have to change our look at affliction. Like, say, for example, I'm headed to camp, right? And Lord forbid I get into a fender bender. Well, the Lord could have been preventing something. You understand? He might have been preventing me from something way worse. So looking at it, instead of like just flying off the handle in a whole bunch of rage, you can understand that, maybe the Lord was preventing us from something. And we see that donkey was trying to definitely prevent in that case. So I'm saying? So let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 141 and verse 5, and I'm going to get it in the NLT. It says, let the godly strike me. It will be a kindness. Hey, that donkey was a kindness. You understand? Sometimes when we go through little hiccups, that is a kindness from the Lord. You understand? We sit up there, I got to run back and forth up and down the stairs because I'm forgetting something. The Lord, that's a kindness. Instead of getting frustrated, because I forgot my damn car keys. Damn, I forgot my phone. Babe, hey, is this up here? Throw it down the stairs for me. Instead of getting frustrated, that could be the Most High God preventing me from getting into a freak accident on the way to work if I would have went out on time. You understand? So sometimes the Lord does things to prevent us from evil and to preserve us from things that's going to affect us in a bad way, right? It says what? If they correct me, it is soothing medicine. Don't let me refuse it, but I pray constantly against the wicked and their deeds. You understand? So we see the opposite end. You know what I'm saying? Instead of despising that donkey, that was important that you see what that donkey is doing. That's soothing medicine. That's a kindness from the Lord. This is a preservation of evil or something bad happening. See what I'm saying? From there, let's go to Sirach chapter 2, right? Because what we have to do is we have to understand that correction is necessary for salvation. You understand? Like that, like it's no way for us to get the kingdom right now. You know what I'm saying? All of the viewers can raise their hand if they feel like they are ready for the kingdom right now. No, we all battle some things. We all have a cross to carry. We all have demons that we're fighting day to day, right? None of us are ready. Somebody has a stain on their garment right now. You understand? So we have to go through correction in order to be prepared for their marriage. Sirach chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. Right? We heard this classic earlier on Gabar's class. You know what I'm saying? How often are we taking things cheerfully? Are we looking at things and we saying, man, things could be a lot worse? You know, somewhere along the line, somebody in this truth has got it way worse than me, right? And it's all praise unto the Most High God that I went through this, because he had to show me that this was an idol in my heart. He had to show me that I was going off. I was being prideful. He had to show me that I was taking this for granted, right? He had to show these things to me. So it's all praises that he was even communicating with me and dealing with me. You understand? It says, for gold is tried in the fire and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. You understand? So all these things that we see, I often say this, man. I'm gonna bring it out I'm gonna bring it out again in Zechariah. We love to wear things that shine, right? Especially Eve, right? Like to wear jewelry. You know what I'm saying? Got the little necklace going, the big old flamboyant earrings, and the razzle dazzle dresses, and so on and so forth, right? Well, let's look at jewelry. Look at what it has to go through in order to shine and look so nice in presentation when you go to buy it. Has to go through heat, has to go through cold, has to go through shaping, molding, right? Has to be polished, so on and so forth. Well, how much more so our soul in order to get the kingdom, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 3 and verse 8. I'm gonna start at verse 18, right? It says, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, and thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, and thou mayest see. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. Right? So you have to understand that all of these things that we go through, I don't want to be redundant and repetitive, but we have to understand that there's a greater reward that we're aiming towards. And in order to obtain that reward and to get that kingdom, right, to see it, we have to go through chastisement, correction, all right, trials, tribulation. We have to be molded, shaped, refined, and refurbished, because none of us are ready, right? Real quick, in the NLT, we'll get 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I'm going to start at verse 56, the classic. It says, for sin is the sting that results in death, and the law gives sin its power, right? So we know if we're sinning because of the law, right? And vice versa in the understanding of it, right? And we understand that death is, it's the casualty of, going against the commandments, right? When we sin, we're steady getting ourselves closer and closer to death. And the Most High, we don't know what our mercy is with the Most High, right? But thank God, He gives us victory over sin and death through the Mashiach Yahushua. My dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is useless. So don't think that all of what you're going through is for nothing. Don't think that correction isn't necessary and you shouldn't be receiving it, especially if we're steady and continuously saying man's going to serve the Lord. We can't fix our mouth and to say, I don't think I deserve this. I don't think I deserve this discipline or this chastisement or this correction. How else is it really going to be retained, though? You have to understand, like, this is the same reason why we bring out the scriptures more than once. This is the same reason why Gabor encourages us to go over our notes continually, right? This is the same reason why we watch videos repetitively. It's because we are trying to retain. So when you're corrected more than once, who are you to say that it was unnecessary? We have to retain it. We have to learn the lesson thoroughly so that we can be better. Sometimes you got to repolish that diamond. Sometimes you have to do another cut, right? Sometimes you have to polish. Sometimes you have to clean more than once in order to thoroughly clean a surface, so on and so forth. So we have to look at correction in a good way, man, in order to obtain salvation and to be found greatest in the kingdom, right? I'm going to get two more, King, and then I'll be finished, right? And get that classic that I mentioned before. It's the book of Zechariah, chapter 13 and verse number 8. It says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So of those 2 parts, you have people that despise correction. Of those 2 parts, you have people that gave into their flesh. Of those 2 parts, you have people who just couldn't cut it. They were marked by the Most High God. They were wicked, right? They loved this place. They loved this world and everything it had to offer, and they lost sight of it. They just didn't make the cut, all right? When I was on varsity, right, you had this certain group of brothers who, were very, very bitter because they just didn't make the cut. You understand? Well, that's how the 2 parts is going to be. All right. Be bitter. They're going to be burning. They're going to be gnashing of the teeth, so on and so forth. The list goes on and on. of the different reactions to that marking of that judgment, right? It says 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. It says, but the third part, the ones that made varsity, the ones that are worthy for the kingdom, the ones that were immovable, the ones that stood forth, the ones that went through the trials of tribulation and endured to the end, worthy of the Most High God's throne, right? It says what? Shall be left there, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God, right? So we have to understand, man, again, what we're striving towards is bigger than the feelings that we feel when we're in discomfort. One more from there. In the NLT, we'll get Matthew chapter 10 and verse 38. If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. Hey, in order to really love correction, we have to adapt to that spirit and that characteristic of taking ourselves out of it. Because a lot of times why we despise correction is because we so locked in on ourselves and our feelings, right? And our emotions. We have to take ourselves out of it. It says right here, if you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. A lot of people, that goes over a lot of heads, right? That saying there is, you got to take up your cross. You got to go through these trials and tribulations, and you have to be willing to die. You know why? Because that's you 100% giving yourself over to the Most High God. And in order to love correction and have the correct viewpoint of correction, you have to take yourself, your feelings, your flesh out of it and understand that you are standing and going through things for a greater purpose. I yield there, King. You got it. You can close us out.
Let me get just a couple of precepts. Just close us out. It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 23. It says, wherefore, whereas men have lived dissolutely and unrighteously, thou hast tormented them with their own abominations, for they went astray very far in the ways of error, and held them for gods, which even among the beasts of their enemies were despised, being deceived as children of no understanding. Right? This is us right now. We're a lost people, children of no understanding, following after all manner of wickedness and idolatry. Right? Verse 25, it says, therefore unto them as to children without the use of reason, thou didst send a judgment to mock them. But they that would not be reformed by that correction, wherein he daily with them, shall feel a judgment worthy of the Most High God. So understand, right? We bring this out all the time. We are in this captivity. We go through this oppression because of our sins against the Most High God. This oppression, this captivity, all of the things that we go through is a form of chastisement and correction from the Most High God. And if we don't take our situation here and allow it to reform and reprove us, right? At the end of the day, we're going to have to suffer that same punishment with the wicked of this world, right? We're going to have to suffer that same thing that these Edomites that we prophesy against all the time. We have to suffer that same fate, right? That same fate. The Lord is not, he doesn't mince words. He says 2/3, 2 parts therein should be cut off and die. And those are the 2 parts that refuse to look at the things that we go through now, right? The things that we continuously complain about, march about, boycott about now. We refuse to look at those things and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we continue to go through this because we won't return to our God. This is a form of reproof, right? One more. It's the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3, start at verse 12, right? It says, yea, and all that will live godly in Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, Salakia, shall suffer persecution, right? Now that word suffer, right? A lot of times we hear that word and we just think, oh yeah, we going through it, man. We suffering right now. We going through it. What that word actually means is here, and I got to pull up in the blue letter right now. I ain't just so you know, I ain't lying to you, right? That word suffer, right? To lift, bear up, carry, take, right? To bear, carry, support, sustain, endure, to take, right? That's what suffer means. Basically means we go through it. We have to tolerate it because we have to tolerate it. We bear it and we endure it, right? Those who live in Yahushua HaMashiach will endure persecution. Verse 13, but evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse. Those that don't bear, that don't endure, that don't suffer it, right? They're gonna wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived, right? It says, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith, which is in Yahushua HaMashiach. All scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of the Most High may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works, right? And that's what we need correction for, so that we can be perfect and thoroughly furnished unto all good works, right? That's the goal, and that's what's going to save us out of here. And with that, hopefully somebody be edified in the coming days and weeks that this video is allowed to be up on the internet, right? We love you, Israel. Hey, shalom.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
So shalom. You distracted. Okay, I guess.
Shalom.
Shalom.